The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and I'm extra excited to be here today. Before I get to why I'm extra excited, we do want to acknowledge that today is 9/11. It is the anniversary of many, many things, but not the least a day that lives in infamy that none of us that were alive will forget. We want to take just a second here at the beginning of the show to say that we won't forget, and that we are mindful of all of the precious lives that were lost on that day. We are mindful of the amazing first responders who risked and sometimes lost their lives to be able to save people. And, you know, it is always a thing, because I'm a woman of a certain age, that those of us who were of a certain age on that day for that event and talk about, you know, how we heard and what happened. But often there is a discussion of everybody lost something that day. Everyone did. And we all lost a sense of innocence and a sense of being able to move through the world freely. But I often hear from the autism community about the things that were going on for them on that day, because, you know, our autism community is a part of every single day, and that they were greatly affected by that day as well. So we commemorate all the wonderful people who risked their lives, all the amazing people who lost their lives on that day, and we never forget, right? Just wanted to take a second to say that. I also want to say, though, that today is an amazing milestone show for us, because for so many years, we've been doing this show for over 14 years, and it has been a dream of mine. I'm a huge fan of Andy Bondy. And we've been talking about having him on the show, and we've many times tried to coordinate an interview, and something has always gone haywire. And then we would have to reschedule, and then that would go haywire, and so on and so forth. And it did again recently, and we had to reschedule again. But we're breaking the curse today, because Andy Bondy is going to be joining us. And I've been talking with you guys about this and how, you know, he's a real life hero of mine. It never occurred to me that we have something extra today. We don't just have Andy Bondy. We have Lori Frost with us, going to be joining us as well. She is the amazing other half of the co-creation of PECS. And so I didn't know that was happening, but I couldn't be any happier. I keep hearing my grandmother say in the back of my head, "Yours pleased as punch." Yes, I am. I am overexcited about it. We're lifting the curse in a beautiful, beautiful way. We're going to get to them in just about 17 minutes here. We have some things to take care of beforehand. I do want to say that we're live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and a bunch of other places. Our wonderful Chris Desmond is going to be showing you some of those places on the screen. However, we acknowledge that the majority of our audience listens in podcasts, that is a way that you guys have found that you can take us with you, and it works with your life, and you can subscribe and it just shows up in your inbox, and you've got all the topics that you want, and can listen in the car, on your run, on your way to drop your child off for treatments, right? So we're thrilled that we are everywhere that you can get a podcast for free. We do encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss a show. I also want to let you know that we try really hard always to to present our content in a way that you can consume it for free. I always say that our show is for that larger autism community that starts with individuals who are themselves on the autism spectrum. You know, that's a very important voice to us here at the Autism Network. That we want to be presenting content to self-advocates and for self-advocates to help them on their journey, and also creating a space for self-advocates to be able to have a microphone. Very important. If you missed Monday's show, I really want to encourage you to go back. Michael Gilbert was with us, an amazing special education attorney and self-advocate. So inspirational, blew my doors off. But in our community that we're talking to, we start with that beating heart of individuals who are themselves on the spectrum, but then we include everyone who loves them, because we feel that that is our larger community, and that together all things are possible, that together we are all different. We come from different backgrounds. We have different interests. We are in different places trying to help a loved one on the spectrum, and they are all in different places. But there are some things that we all agree on, and that starts with the rights of individuals who are on the spectrum, respect for individuals on the spectrum, and opportunities for individuals on the spectrum, right? So that's our audience, and we want to get content to you for free. And that's why the podcasts are downloadable for free. However, that is in fact why there are advertisements on the podcast, because that helps defray the cost of getting it to you for free. So you will hear advertisements on the podcast. I hope you enjoy and embrace them and go, hey, they made this free for me. Some of you, though, have written to us and said that you're doing other activities and you'd really rather pay a small amount to be able to have the podcast ad-free. You can easily do that. All you need to do is go to glow.fm/autism-live. When you go there, you have the opportunity to subscribe. And for one low price, $5 a month, you can subscribe to everything that we do at the Autism Network. That includes Autism Live. That includes our newest podcast, which is Today's Hyperfixation. Wonderful podcast. It includes Ask Dr. Doreen. It includes Stories from the Spectrum, which is only stories from those that consider themselves on the spectrum or neurodiverse, and everything else that we do. So $5 a month, and it shows up in your inbox, anything that we do, and it's completely ad-free. But you don't have to do that. You can get it for free wherever you get podcasts, and just enjoy the ads. That's all. And we're very proud to be able to get it to you in all those formats. Okay. I also want to say at the start of the show here, something very nice happened this morning. Those of you who know me know that I have been moonlighting for the last year, that I have gone back to a position that I had held previously, where I'm the Director of Parent Relations at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, CARD. And I'm very proud and excited to be filling that role and hopefully meeting with parents and helping them with whatever resources they need to find on their journey. You know that that's a really important thing to me. And this morning, because it's my birthday on Saturday, and this morning they showed a video that is hilarious. Chris Desmond made this video. It's absolutely hilarious. We were going to show it this morning, and then we got concerned about, the Andy Bondy curse, was it going to mess up and have a copyright infringement where you guys couldn't see Andy Bondy? So we're not showing it to you, but it's hilarious. I'll put it on my Facebook, my personal Facebook later on, because, that's a different copyright thing. And you'll be able to see, because he's got Donny Osmond singing to me, and it's absolutely hilarious. And you'll want to appreciate Chris Desmond's amazing work. I want to thank everybody who did that. That was a very sweet thing to do for my birthday. I also want to make you aware, before we get to the jargon of the day, that we are gearing up and getting ready for the biggest fundraiser of the year that Autism Care Today does. That's the charity that Dr. Grant Pichet founded, that I'm very involved with. I love them because they give grants to families like those of you who are watching for what you need. So if what you need is an iPad, then you can request an iPad. If what your child needs is safety equipment because they're an eloper, you can ask for that. They really are responsive to what people want. There is a application process. There is a grant phase that is open right now. You can go to act-today.org, and you can start filling out a request. Unfortunately, they're not able to fulfill all the requests that come in for them. They've given away more than $2 million worth of treatment and things that people have asked for. But, I'm always trying to raise more money for ACT so that they can give more money to grants to families that need it. So we do a big fundraiser in the fall. It's called the All Ghouls Gala. It's here in Los Angeles at a very exclusive Los Angeles residents with amazing food. It's an open bar. The ticket price is only $125. And I say that, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but for an evening of, if you went out to dinner and an open bar and a party and a DJ and a dance floor and gourmet food and an open bar in Los Angeles, it would absolutely cost you way more than $125. And your money goes towards grants, which is absolutely amazing. It is a Halloween party. It is an adults only party. So it is not a kiddie Halloween party. This is an adult party with an open bar. There are awards that are given to some luminaries. We call it the Lending Your Voice Award, and it's given to people who have lent their voice. Last year, our recipients were Joe Mantegna, Dr. Temple Grandin, and Areva Martin. I cannot yet disclose who this year is, but it's big, you guys. It's big. I'll disclose that probably in a week or so. But a lot of celebrities come. It's a wonderful evening. You can get your tickets now. The tickets are on Eventbrite, and if you put third annual All Ghouls Gala, it will come up. And if you aren't coming to the event, but you'd like to donate money, maybe to buy a ticket for somebody who isn't able to afford one, who's in Los Angeles, we'll make sure it goes to someone in the autism community. Or you can just flat out donate money towards grants, because that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. And that goes to good places. I know that for a fact, because I work very closely with them as a volunteer. Anyway, we got to get to did we want to show the video? Do you want to show the video, Chris, for the All Ghouls Gala?
It's that time, but I don't have to tell you that. You've heard the calling and tried to bury it deep inside, but some fears can't be ignored. Everyone is going to be there. He'll be there. Probably him too. It would be just ghastly for you to miss it. Don't forget to invite a friend. Run. Don't look to get your tickets to ACT today's third annual All Ghouls Gala. Tickets on sale now at third annual allghoulsgala.eventbrite.com. See you there. There will be a scream.
For those of you who are just joining us, today is a big show because not only do we have Andy Bondy going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes, but Lori Frost is with him as well. These are two heroes of mine, and if you don't know, they're probably heroes of yours as well. We have the jargon of the day set to talk about PECS, but I want to note as we start this that they are the co-creators of PECS. PECS would not exist if it weren't for Andy Bondy and Lori Frost. So let's do our jargon of the day thing. Then we're going to ask them for any thoughts that they have about our jargon of the day. But this is when we take one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what are the experts talking about when they say this. Used to be that we would give an actual definition and we would make fun of it, and then we'd give a working definition. Definitions have gotten so much more user-friendly. I think it might be a little bit AI that we've started lately. I give an AI definition first, and then we give a separate definition that maybe sheds light on a different area that the AI one didn't. So let's take a look at our actual AI definition for PECS. PECS, if you guys don't know, is the Picture Exchange Communication System. It's a method of communication that uses pictures to help autistic people communicate without speaking. PECS is a type of augmentative and alternative communication, AAC system, and can be used by people of all ages and abilities with a range of speech, language, and communication needs. Now, that is your Google AI overview. Before anybody gets, fussy about, well, why did you use this term? I didn't. I'm just giving you the definition when you go to Google AI that it gives you. But let's go on to another definition to see what it shares. PECS, as we know, Picture Exchange Communication System. The goal of PECS is to teach children with autism a fast, self-initiating functional communication system. And that comes to us from nationalautismresources.com. I loved this one just because I feel that it adds a little bit more about the empowerment piece. Because as we have heard from so many of our friends and viewers on this show, I can think of one person in particular, if you're watching, I'm thinking of you, that is not somebody who is on the autism spectrum, but that has other reasons why they need an augmentative device. And I remember one of the things that he said was that he wasn't given the ability to communicate with the people around him with any kind of, PECS or augmentative anything until he was older. And on a frequent basis, he will say to me, Shannon, please make sure you're telling those parents that the ability to communicate is everything. that it's absolutely everything, and the earlier the better to give everyone. It's a civil rights issue, right? The ability to be able to communicate and letting go of the idea that all communication is vocal, because it's not. Even amongst those of us who can speak, that's not the only mode of communication. And critical, though, that we give everyone an ability to communicate in a way that works for them. That's why I love this fast, self-initiating, functional communication system. Hey, we're saying good morning to Rodney, who's already written in. Rodney, we had some technical difficulties, so thank you for writing in so that I know that you're seeing it. Same thing for anybody else. Please feel free to join us. I'm going to really segue very quickly, because we lost a little bit of time, to our two guests, because they, as I said, they're heroes of mine. Let me talk a little bit about them separately, although they often work together. Andy Bondy is the president and co-founder of Pyramid Educational Consultants. Dr. Bondy is an innovative leader in the field of autism and applied behavior analysis. He directed a statewide public school system for students with autism for 14 years. He is the co-author of the PECS training manual. He also wrote the Pyramid Approach to Education, a training manual that offers an integrated orientation to developing effective educational environments, blending applied behavior analysis with functional activities and creative communication strategies. How amazing is that? Dr. Bondy has presented all over the world, numerous papers, lectures, workshops, and regional, national, and international conferences and conventions on behavior analysis, PECS, and the Pyramid Approach to Education. I also want to say he is widely acknowledged as one of the nicest people in the field. I've never heard anyone say anything but glowing comments about him and his wife. Lori Frost is the vice president and co-founder of Pyramid Educational Consultants. She is the co-author of the PECS training manual. She has been the driving force behind creating PECS, a unique system that allows children with limited communication abilities to initiate communication with teachers, parents, and peers. Ms. Frost has a wealth of background in functional communication training and applied behavior analysis. She has assisted in the development of a number of training packages designed to teach language and academic skills. She has worked in many public and private school settings as a speech pathologist. As a pyramid consultant, Ms. Frost has traveled across the country and the world teaching workshops on PECS and the Pyramid Approach to Education. She has presented a number of papers and lectures on autism and communication and co-authored several articles and chapters, and is respected by professionals in her field as a leader in functional communication systems. And again, just two of the nicest people on the face of the planet. They happen to be married and work together. I mean, how much more could we respect them? But when you hear about the kinds of things that they have done and changed lives around the world, it's amazing. So I'm so proud and excited to welcome both Dr. Andy Bondy and Lori Frost to the show for the first time. We're breaking the curse.
Yes.
And I thought for a minute when we had technical difficulties, I was like, is the universe nudging us here? But we overcame. And we are here. So first of all, thank you for having the time and for working through with us as we've had to reschedule you even in the last month. Thank you for being here. I want to start by asking you, was there anything you wanted to add to our jargon for PECS? Anything you want to correct or note? We want to learn from you.
Well, we want to thank you for the opportunity, and trying to be a nice guy, having a curse named after me is definitely cringeworthy, but I'll quote for that. Those definitions from those different sources, we think, they're hitting the key issues. For us, one of the key words in picture exchange is the exchange. It means it guarantees a social interaction with someone, because we think that is the hallmark of communication. It's what you do to someone else. With pictures, everybody's concerned about picking the picture or pointing, picking it up, or saying the right word, showing the right sign. But communication is all about, what do I do to interact with that other person? And that's what PECS tries to focus on early on. and then expand the things to communicate about.
You want to add anything, Lori?
Well, I too am an admirer of Andy Bondy. But we started working together 40 years ago, and it was in a statewide program for kids with autism, and it was a combination of his excellence in how to teach and what to teach, and my background in speech language pathology, and my background in AAC that led to the development of the PECS protocol. And our initial PECS books were made by us, cardboard with pictures. I became a big fan of lamination and Velcro. I still have a laminator sitting on my desk. So it's been a fantastic journey as we have endeavored to spread the word about PECS, functional communication, and the pyramid approach around the globe.
Amazing. So when you started working on PECS, were you already married? Like, I don't mean to be too personal, but it seems like there's a love story here too.
No, way back then he was my boss.
Ooh.
Now I'm his boss.
I love that. Turn around is fair play.
And then she left.
I moved out of state for a while, came back, and
then later on we saw each other with different eyes, shall we say. So, but PECS was developed over a number of years. It wasn't like we went into a dark room and said, hey, how about 6 phases? You want 6 phases or 5? Our question wasn't, does PECS work? Can I teach a child to initiate an interaction with a picture? Oh, can we teach them to travel across a room and find different people to do that? Oh, can he choose pictures of different things? Oh, what about those attributes? Which cookie does he want? And how about conversations like commenting and answering questions? So it took a number of years to develop the structure of PECS. My view is the kids taught us how to do PECS. We're just trying to teach everybody else what the kids taught us. But it wasn't that we dreamt it all up as this, protocol.
And I there's so many things that I want to talk about, but a lot of parents, and I'm a parent. My son was diagnosed at 2.5. I remember I was so, like so many parents, I wanted speech. I wanted speech. I wanted speech. I wanted speech. And I know back then, and even now, when a team says to a parent, we're going to do something that's augmentative, whether it's PECS or anything else, that parents are often resistant because they feel like that is saying you're not going to get to speech. We know that's not what the research says. And we tell people that all the time, but I want them to hear it from you guys because you guys are on the front line doing this and you see this all the time. What can we say to parents so that they really understand how this works and that it actually can help jumpstart actual language that is spoken?
I think for professionals, whether they're speech pathologists, behavior analysts, psychologists, teachers who want to talk to parents or other staff about using PECS or any AAC strategy, do not wait for the parent to voice that fear. It is, and we anticipate it. The moment I start talking about PECS, I say, I know what you're afraid of. And you're not the first parent who has had this fear. Everyone has this fear. If I use these systems, it'll undermine speech. But the issue is, because everyone has had this fear, people have looked at this question for over 40 years, not just with PECS, with other strategies too, and no one has found a detrimental effect on speech acquisition, speech expansion. In fact, the opposite is true. So we want to make sure parents understand it's not either or. Either I do pictures or I do speech.
Right.
We're actually going to use strategies which are trying to move them in parallel. And we will then have the child tell us what's their progress like.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. You want to add anything to that, Lori?
I think that was one of the other things I talk to parents about and newer teachers is the difference between communicating and talking. communication can take many, many forms. I mean, sometimes it's talking that's not communicating. I sit at my office desk a lot muttering to myself, and I'm not communicating with anybody. I'm just kind of engaging in muttering. But communication, talking doesn't guarantee communication. But what we've done within the PECS protocol is it guarantees an interaction that is understood by the communication partner, and we call that functional communication.
Yes. For anybody who's not ever seen it, I mean, I remember the first time that I saw somebody start a PECS program with a child, my mind was blown. It was so elegant and amazing. And as you said, the child got it before I think the adults in the room did. But for anybody who's never seen it, can you talk through a little bit about what it is and what it looks like?
Next book.
Sure, Laura will get a textbook, but the key is I want a child, for example, you said 2.5 years old. I want that child to interact with somebody and have to give them a good reason, a little bit of motivation. And so we often start with things the child likes, is interested in: toys, a drink, candy,
video,
dancing, video, whatever it is. And we watch how the child interacts with that thing. Typically, if I offer something, the child will reach for it. They're not interacting with me when they reach. They're interacting with the thing they're interested in. Then what we want to do is introduce a single picture. Here's a picture of a cop. Let's say a child with like that spinning toy. And instead of having the child reach for the top, when they do that, we will help the child reach for the picture to hand it over to us. Immediately we give the toy, and we talk it up. And if it's a hug, great. If that's what the child really into, great. Let's hug. Now, I want to be clear. This is not the only way a child will have an opportunity to play with a thumb. There are times you have lots of toys and he can go get it on his own. There are times when I'm just going to be a nice person and give him. It's never about one way all the time. I don't always give a child something you like. I don't always make him ask for it. I don't always lead into a kind of an exchange or a deal. It's a variety. So, of course, we want to teach children to communicate. And at other times, we're going to focus on doing things more independently. So it's difficult to describe, but we're trying to achieve a balance over a period of time as opposed to focusing on what's happening during the next 5 seconds.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why you guys are so respected and admired and why you are heroes is because you're really focused on helping empower the child. And you're not focused on doing that in a way that's rigid and, it has to be my way or the highway kind of thing, which let's face it, there are some people that get really rigid about, well, the rule is this and it's got to be this.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Or people would start introducing pictures with instruction. Go get the spoon. And that's the first thing they teach a child about a picture. Well, I'm sorry, for me, it's more important that the child lets me know what they want. I'll get around to telling them what I want. So, we're going to balance that over time, but the first interactions are all about the child. What do you want? What do you need? What's going to make you happy and feel a little bit of in control of this situation? That's what we're looking for.
And Andy is referring to children. We've also introduced PECS to adolescents, young adults, senior citizens who aren't using speech as their primary mode of communication.
And thus often appear, to also, lack that calm way to interact with other people and let them know what's important.
A colleague of ours in Japan introduced PECS to her father who had had a stroke. And she said the first thing he learned to ask for was a beer. Yeah. And then he learned to ask for a specific beer. So it's very, very protocol is very, very reliant upon us identifying what the individuals want.
And it's poignant for me because, as you were saying that, I was thinking about that when I was a young woman, my dad had a stroke and he had aphasia afterwards. My dad, who had been a very highly verbal technical director for television, and suddenly the makeup of his brain was foreign to him. To be able to find the pathway to get his needs met, we were starting from scratch, and PECS wasn't around then.
Right.
And yet I remember how, frustrated he was and how much time it took to work through him being able to get his basic needs met. And then fast forward, many years, and then I have a child who loses his language. And I was like, oh, what does this remind me of? Right.
Yeah.
And for anybody who is like, well, because I know there's always critics, right? And for anybody who's like, well, this seems like it's an unnatural thing to exchange a picture. If you don't have a way of getting your needs met and the whole world is working on a modality that you don't have easy access to, being able to hand a picture to be able to get that beer is everything.
Yeah.
Obviously we're not giving beers to children, but for children, there are things that they want to request that they can't just go get. That they can't just go put their hand on and take it, and to be able to give them a method in which they can be clear and say, this is what I want. I hear parents all the time say, you just can't know until you're there with your 17-year-old and he doesn't have the ability to say, I don't want chives and sour cream on my baked potato.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, we view PECS and more globally communication as a problem-solving strategy and as a self-advocating strategy.
Yes.
And people, sometimes images, I think of a situation just, gain too much control. So sometimes the first exposure somebody has to PECS is with a young child asking for a snack or a drink or a toy, and they go, oh, PECS is about requests. Well, we all have to start someplace. And we started with a request because they lead to these powerful motivators. Of course, we have to change what we're communicating about. Oh, look, Lord, there's a really pretty bird out there. I'm not saying, go get me the bird. I want to play with it. I want to have a conversation about the bird. So PECS is going to move in that direction as well. Which cookie do you want? Oh, I want a big red square cookie. Oh, with icing on it too. Be more explicit about what you want and your descriptions. And we find that sometimes people get essentially overly focused on the beginning and miss our messages. It's the starting point. If, we need teachers that are very creative. We need teachers that are having fun. We need teachers that are creating these just super exciting social interactions so we can learn the joy of commenting about things. Nobody comments about dull things. One of my lines is, the little child sitting in the kitchen with mom doesn't go, the floor. Those are not the first comments for anybody. So they're not going to be for, individuals we work with either. What's exciting? Great. That's the stuff we're going to comment about.
One of the lessons I traditionally see with people using pictures, teaching pictures as a means of communication is, first of all, teaching, I'm going to match this picture to an object, or I'm holding up an object, I need you to give me the picture that matches this. That's not a thrilling lesson for anybody. So one of the key tenets of PECS is that we build upon the existing interests.
Yeah.
And, because of our kind of international interaction, we have offices in 17 countries involved, many, many different languages, but the cultural variations are also important. I should not try to walk into a family in Japan and tell them what their child will want. They have to go there and watch and observe and learn. And that's part of the joy we've had over these years, is being able to develop many friendships with professionals and families around the world, because the kids are the kids. And family stress is family stress. Language about it might be a little different, but trust me, everybody, has those basic commonalities.
You're just proving why you're so loved, you guys. My face hurts because you're wonderful. I want to talk about a bunch of different things. You showed the book for a second. Now, over the years, a lot has changed, and a lot of people are going straight to iPads. And you guys have kept up with technology. I want to talk about your app, but I also want to hear from you about, is it good to just go directly to the app, or do you like to start with the cards first? And is it different for different kids?
It is different for different kids. With our very young children, our children 6 and under, I always recommend a trial of PECS because the research has shown a great majority of those kids develop speech. There isn't
in a short period
of time, and there's not the same level of support for speech generating devices, whether they're dedicated or on an iPad.
Okay.
I do, if certain goals aren't met within the PECS protocol, I'm going to make sure, first of all, that my teaching strategies are sound. And that's where we rely on behavior analysts in the family. But if I have a child who's progressed through several phases of the PECS, what I find is that transitioning to a speech-generating device is easier because so many of the primary skills are already mastered. When I transition to an iPad with an AAC app, there's a lot of mechanical knowledge that has to be mastered. How to turn on the device, how to navigate between pictures on the device. And if the child doesn't also have a background as a functional communicator, I'm asking 2 big things of this child, and that is learn how to communicate and learn how to navigate. So even with some of my older students, I'm going to do a quick trial of PECS. Our recommendation is get through phase 4 of PECS. That's a perfect point for transitioning to a speech-generating device.
Okay.
And the speed to that phase is, again, it's a function of a child, not a function of you must do this for this amount of time. There was a very influential study a number of years ago by Laura Schweidman and Alden Stamer. They were comparing pivotal response training, which they had developed, with children doing PECS. And in the PECS group, there were 19 children. These were children who were randomly assigned from a bigger pool, 2.5 years old, all with autism, all using less than 10 words when they started. 6 months later, those 19 children who had been introduced to PECS averaged 90 spoken words.
Wow.
So there is, none of those children essentially needed to transition to a device because their transition was from pictures to speech. Did all the children speak? The answer is no. But it was the same number in the group that was trying to teach speech directly. There were children in that group who did not acquire any speech in 6 months and thus had no communication skills whatsoever. But as I said, we're not saying it's either or.
Right.
We're saying, especially with the youngest children, we're going to use PECS to promote that interaction. We're going to do everything we can to get speech going. And then the child will tell us what's the best path.
One of my first encounters with a child who developed speech while using PECS was in a public school program. I was helping kids get off the bus in the morning. And one of my learners came down off the bus and he said, I'm going to get the cookies. I'm going to get the cookies. And I just looked at him and said, okay, that's great. And as he walked away, I realized, wait, you don't talk. You haven't talked. And to me, that was an eye-opening experience to realize how something like PECS can actually facilitate the development of speech. And this child went on to become an almost age-appropriate speaker and language user. So I think a lot of it was the foundations that we teach within the PECS protocol. And then it is easier to talk than to exchange pictures.
Or to use a device.
Or definitely to use a device.
Yes. Yes. So you had you had the book there that you showed before. I'd love it if you hold it up and talk a little bit about it. But I think you also have a tablet there, and I want you to talk about your app.
Well, the idea behind the book is that we want children to eventually not only exchange single pictures, but create sentences. So I hear, I don't know, what do they hear? Could be I hear the animals. And then the clever thing that Lori did was make sure that this sentence strip could still be exchanged to guarantee that interaction. Because what we found early on, some children just started pointing to pictures and then didn't care if somebody was watching there or not. So one of the reasons we developed this sentence strip was to maintain that social interaction. And then obviously, how to restore pictures, with lots of pictures inside. But when the pictures also start to get large,
Not large size.
large in number, then we will switch to.
I'm gonna try and show this. It's called PECS. Well, currently it's called PECS 4 Plus if you're on an Apple device. We are in the process of transitioning it to PECS Talk. And if you look at it, it looks like a PECS book. So there are many tabbed pages, just like in the book Andy showed you. And there's a sentence strip at the bottom. And what the kids do is build a sentence strip. Go swinging blanket. Swinging blanket. Go swinging blanket. So this is I build each child's profile based upon the vocabulary they're currently learning in their PECS book. But on this, you can switch between different tabbed pages. There's a dedicated sentence starter page. And the new version that's coming out is already available as on Android. But the new version of the iOS, both of them will have 14 languages. So
And
thousands of pictures, yes.
Amazing.
And this is an example of a bilingual book I created. So if you notice, the pictures have English on the top, Spanish on the bottom for a bilingual student I was working with.
Amazing. And it should be noted that you're customizing it for that speaker. That
Yes.
so the icons, the pictures are the things that they have learned, that they might be learning, things in their environment that they might want to have communication about.
Yes.
just as with typically developing children, language is highly individualized very early in acquisition. First 50 words, first 80 words for everyone is really related to the child's interest, interaction, specific environment. As it grows, 200, 300, 400 words, then there are certain words which are very likely to occur. So we want to make sure those words are available. But making them available very early on does not necessarily expand the use of communication. The words like a and the will eventually acquire them, but I don't know any child who does that in the first 50 spoken words either.
And one other feature we built into this app from the existing one and on PECS Talk, which is coming out, when we developed the PECS protocol and started hearing kids start talking, what we determined was that it was in phase 4 when we were reading a sentence strip back with a child. We would point to a picture, I would say it, I would point to the next picture, or they would point to the next picture, and I would pause. And that's where we started hearing kids fill in the blank. So we built that same kind of delay in the device speaking into the app. It's an option to turn on in the app. But I'm also starting to see some kids who start filling in the blank when that pause is built in.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that pause, it's not a PECS strategy. The pause is a teaching strategy to promote vocalization. Whether a child is using sign or pictures in text or pictures on a device. That strategy works across modalities.
So Andy and I are living proof that behavior analysts and speech pathologists can get along.
There it is. Not only get along, but can create something that changes the world. And your programs have changed the world and influenced the field in huge ways. And you've made it possible for people to have functional communication and eventually, for some of them, for many of them, speak. I'm just, I want to talk about your legacy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's make sure that we give the website, and we give it several times here. Where can people go to find out more, to download your app, to get the books, to be able to learn these strategies? Where do we go for everything?
Our global website is PECS.com. And when you open PECS.com, it'll ask you where you are. And if you're in the United States, it will open up our US website. If you're in China, it will open up our China website. The app you can click on a button that will take you to either the Android Play Store or the Apple Store. Apple app, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you will be able to get access to the app on either platform. Again, the Apple platform is going to be released at the end of September. Right now, it's the PECS 4 Plus app.
Okay. And because I know we have a big international audience, I know they're going to want me to ask, is this something that a parent can attempt to do on their own? Is there training for them? Do they need to be working with someone who's a PECS expert?
I'm never going to say you can't do it on your own, but I can say you're unlikely to be as effective as when you have training from somebody who has the experience to work with parents and professionals and children. So there is training available in many different languages around the world. Some of this training is like on-site, in person. Some of the training takes place at schools and programs, but there's also online training available. There's a YouTube station,
PECS Global,
that has a lot of videos that we have developed. Unfortunately, it's kind of risky just to use YouTube and everyone else's idea of PECS, because seriously, research has shown about 70% of what's out there saying this is PECS is not PECS. So, if you want to learn about it, we have lots and lots and lots of resources. We have books describing, aspects of PECS that are out there for free as well.
Yes.
We
just published the 3rd edition of the PECS training manual.
Yeah, so if you want to see Lori's Heart and Brain in one place, this is the newest version of Lori's Heart and Brain.
It's currently only in English. It's being translated into a dozen other languages.
All right. But if a parent's really motivated and says, I want to get trained, is it the kind of thing where if the parent gets training, you still want to have them having other people to generalize? Or can a parent, if they're highly trained, be effective working with their own children, in your opinion?
Research has shown that parents or paraprofessionals or other professionals, speech pathologists, teachers, behaviorists, can implement PECS with the same fidelity as professionals.
Okay.
They need support, they need feedback, but that is universal. That is, again, not a PECS training thing. It's how to learn any new skill. When I learn a new skill, I need to read about it, I need to watch some examples, I need to practice those examples, and I need to get feedback. Okay. And that's a critical component of any particular skill. So yes, parents, there are wonderful publications of parents doing innovative lessons, teaching their children how to create innovative sentences that no one has ever seen them do before. But parents can teach that innovation just as well.
Okay. So now let's talk about your legacy. Is it humbling to you guys how much of an impact you have had on the world? And what is, you guys have done so much. What do you think the legacy of PECS is going to be? What do you want the legacy to be?
Well, It's been an amazing journey. We had no idea when we said, let's create a little company to do some training. Part of the issue was, we were getting so much of attention. Early on, I was trying to work and, do training. And I realized it'd be nice to have a vacation because all of that vacation I was training. So that's when we said, let's go create a company to just do this. Then one year somebody said, would you come to England? Sure, we've never been to England. Great, let's go. And then she said, can I teach this? And we went, okay, maybe we can do that. And that's what has happened. We've met very passionate people who understand that to do training in PECS or the pyramid, they need to be aware of the local culture, the local school system, support, funding. They need to do the training. I can go in and do a nice training with somebody translating, but you need consultants that are on the ground. And that's what has happened. I mean, we've been stunned over the last 20 years. About 500,000 people around the world have gone to various training that we've organized in over 100 countries. There are over 500,000 communication books, large, small, intermediate size. So that's a lot of people doing PECS. We know a lot of people say, this is old, like Andy's old. That's a good description. But, PECS is old. But there were 20 publications in the last 2 years about PECS. I cannot even keep up with the publications on PECS because it's in so many languages. And quite frankly, people are looking at not just picture use, but social interaction, becoming friends. The rate of smiling is going up. People are looking at lots of other impacts, innovative use of sentences, behavioral changes. All these things that people in other cultures are very interested in studying that, quite frankly, not every behavior analyst and speech pathologist in America thinks of studying, but they are. And so that's what's fascinating to me.
Amazing. Lori, you want to add anything?
We have 4 kids, and they have taught us about work-life balance. Many, many years ago, they announced a moratorium at our dinner table. We are not talking about work. I think that has shaped us into being good at separating work from life. There was a lot of overlap between the two, though. Andy and I got to travel around the world. Growing up in a small town of 1,800 people in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, I never dreamed I'd see a foreign country. And we've been on every continent now except Antarctica.
Growing up in New York City, I know I was going to fall in love with somebody from this little tiny town that had fewer people in an apartment building down the block from me. These are all shocking things that are wonderful.
I think we've been very lucky.
Well, you also just radiate happiness. Even in your email, every email you send, Dr. Bondy, ends with, today is a good day. Sounds like, maybe a small thing, but it actually is a really lovely thing. Every time I see that, I'm like, gosh, he's right. And it encourages me to stop and remember that. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of everybody in the community, for bringing joy and for bringing common sense and care and, that practicality of let's listen to the child and let's be on a path that helps the child to grow and be able to communicate. In whatever way that looks like, and allowing the child to tell you. It's made a tremendous impact on all of our lives, and we just appreciate, and we're glad that you're here and that you continue to work and that you're finding time to have fun together. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You lived up to all of the hype in my heart. And Lori, it's like such a pleasure to meet you because You probably don't remember, Dr. Bondy, but I've met you a couple of times, and things were happening when those. But I've never gotten to meet you before, Lori. So this is just amazing. And you did. You both lived up to all of the hype in my heart. I can't thank you enough. I'd love to have you back on again now that we've broken the curse. The curse does not exist anymore.
No more curse. It's Boston winning the pennant.
Sorry?
It's Boston winning the pennant.
Oh, I don't know why now it cut out for me. But I'll go back and listen to what you said. But you guys are amazing. And thank you for all the good work and for continuing to do the good work. And we will look forward to seeing you at conferences and maybe back on the air here.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Today is a good day. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just amazing, you guys. What a treat. Whew, what a really, really great treat. I hope that you guys will go to their website, look around, learn what you need to do. I know so many of you write in, there it is, PECS.com. So many of you write in and say that you're wanting language and you're wanting to build language, and how amazing to hear that this is not all or nothing, that these are these two paths. I hope that you will go there, visit, get the help that you want, the support that you need. Amazing. All right. We are back on Monday. We have we have a little bit of a battle about who are we having on Monday, but I believe that on Monday we are going to have the fabulous Stan Kurtz with us. We were talking about rescheduling Dr. Baker there, but I think we're going to have him another time. And then on Tuesday, we have Ask Dr. Doreen. And then on Wednesday, Moira Giammatteo is going to be joining me. We are going to we're going to dissect the Emmys because the Emmys are this Sunday on my actual birthday. And so that's going to be our treat next week, is that we're going to talk about the Emmys. I don't know whether you guys saw, but Jamie Lee Curtis already won her Emmy the other day. Plus there were Emmys that were won by Autism-live on Netflix. So if you're like, I don't really know what that has to do with autism, we think that it has a lot to do with autism. Jamie Lee Curtis is a huge supporter of autism events and charities and individuals on the spectrum. And of course, Autism-live, great show. So we'll talk about that and much, much more when we're here on Wednesday. But we're going to have Stan Kurtz, who's going to join us. There's so many things to talk about with Stan, but Stan has, he's talking about a new treatment modality that's getting a lot of attention. So we're going to talk about that on Monday. All right. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time. That was just lovely.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful talking with you. It's really just a lot of